A slow living lifestyle is often misinterpreted as being about slowing down the literal pace at which we do things. However, slow living is actually about intentionally opting out of the culture of working harder and faster. There are plenty of people with busy jobs and busy lives who are able to bring slow living philosophy into their lives. It's all about being intentional with how you spend your time and what you allow into your life, whether that's physical possessions or relationships or different experiences. So if you're looking for ways to bring more balance into your life, then in this video I'm going to go through 8 practical slow living tips to help you do just that. So tip number 1 is to not check your phone straight after waking up. And this is one that I'm working on and I don't always get it right. Let's face it, there's not a lot of positive news stories on social media at the moment, but the things that get our attention on social media or on online news sites are the negative things that go on in life. So when we are bombarded with those things first thing in the morning, it's not surprising that it's going to have an impact on our mood. So instead, think about other ways that you might want to spend the first half an hour of your day, whether it's just having a cup of tea or coffee to yourself in that quiet time before other people get up, or have some breakfast by yourself and really savor that time. Allow your mind to gently wake up and adjust to the morning while you attend to yourself. Tip number 2 is to not cram your day full of stuff. We only have so many hours in the day, but society or culture is telling us that we need to hustle and that we need to be productive, and that the more we do, the longer hours we work, the better we are, the more successful we can be. So of course the temptation is to cram our diaries full of as many things as possible. Trying to pace out our days may be a bit trickier if you work a 9 to 5, because often we're not always in control of when meetings or other things are booked into our diaries. So something that might be helpful is to write down at the beginning of each day, or if you wanted to plan for the week ahead, write down what you've got to get done and prioritize the things that are absolutely non-negotiable. For everything else you've got on your list, think about whether you do actually need to do those things yourself or whether they could be delegated to other people. Are some of the tasks really necessary, or could they be taken off the list altogether? And that leads me into number 3, which is to schedule in breaks. So we are really good at putting work into our schedules, but we're not so good at planning in breaks. And the difficulty is, if we don't schedule in these breaks, we're less likely to take them. I've been known to work through my lunch break, typing emails or writing reports while I've been eating. And essentially that's not been a break, and I've not felt the benefit of it. But when I've started to go out and take a walk for 15 minutes at lunchtime, and I've taken myself away from my desk and got some fresh air, I feel much better when I come back in the afternoon. Tip number 4 is to create habits and routines that help to free you up. I like my weekends to be spent doing the things that I enjoy. So I try and do as much as I can in terms of cleaning, decluttering, keeping things tidy in the week. So for example, is I wipe down surfaces and appliances after I've used them. If we have any paperwork come into the house, we shred it, or we'll file it away in the document folder we have if we need to. But what I don't want to do is leave it on a countertop somewhere, which then seems to create a magnet for other clutter to be put in the same place. If we get rid of it as soon as it comes in, that helps to keep things a lot tidier. It kind of feels like the house keeps itself clean. But habits can take time to build at first. So think about one habit that you do want to build and start doing that, and really focus on doing that consistently. And once you're in the habit of it, once it is something that you're doing consistently and not necessarily having to think about too much, then you can think about another habit that you want to build as well. And if you are already embracing a slow living lifestyle and you've got any tips that I've not mentioned in here, then please do let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Tip number 5 is to practice quitting. And there's an alternative phrase for quitting, which is called uncommitting. And I first heard that in Greg McKeown's book, Essentialism, and I'll link to that book down in the description. Quitting can come with negative connotations. So often we may continue to do things that we really don't enjoy because we're worried about what other people might think of us if we do quit. It might be something as simple as starting to read a book and we no longer enjoy, but we feel we need to finish it. That's one that I really get stuck on. If I'm partway through a book, I've just lost the motivation to read it, I'm not enjoying it, I really can beat myself up sometimes for not pushing through and finishing it. Or it might be that you have a hobby or an interest that you've invested a lot of time and energy, or perhaps even money into, and then maybe a few months down the line, the passion's gone, I'm no longer interested in it. But then there's this feeling that I have to keep going with it because of the amount of effort I've already put into it. So what Greg McKeown talks about when he says uncommitting is this sense of, well, if I stop doing this thing that I'm no longer passionate about, what's actually happening is that I'm making more room for other things that I might enjoy doing even more. And I do think we have to think carefully when it comes to quitting or uncommitting, because there are things that I've been really tempted to quit. For example, certain training courses that I've done where they were getting really difficult and it was affecting my mental health. But I'm so glad I pushed through, because it meant that I could achieve the qualifications that I was working on and do the job that I'm doing now. However, there are other courses that I did which I'd started off enjoying, but I really didn't enjoy them anymore. I'd lost the passion for it, and really I'd been better off if I'd have just uncommitted, stopped, so that I could then focus my energy on the stuff that I really did enjoy. Tip number 6 is to declutter regularly. When my husband and I did our major declutter of over 10 years worth of stuff, it was really challenging, but it was also really satisfying. However, it's no good decluttering once and then never doing it again. I think it's really helpful if we can declutter regularly to keep on top of any clutter coming in. Decluttering is something you can do regularly, whether it's once a week or once a month. Some people have a designated place where they keep their clutter so that they can sort through it at the end of the week. Regardless of what the frequency is, what I would recommend is not leaving it 10 years like I did. Another aspect of decluttering is also being more intentional about what you spend your money on and what you buy and bring into your home, because part of the problem for me was that I would impulse buy or buy things because they were on sale or fear of missing out, and often that adrenaline rush or that dopamine hit that I got from buying the thing was very short-lived, and when I actually had the item it didn't really mean as much to me as I thought it would. So being more intentional about how you spend your money and the possessions that you bring into your home means that your home is more likely to be full of the things that you do actually want there, and not full of things that aren't serving a purpose or a function. Tip number 7 is to pay attention more often. Life can be so busy and hectic, and we can get onto this treadmill of doing and not stopping to take a breath. Even when we're supposedly relaxing with family or friends, or we're out for a nice meal with our spouse, often our minds are not fully immersed on that experience of being with those people we care about. Our minds might be worrying about things that may or may not happen in the future, or thinking about things that have happened in the past. And when our minds are not focused on the present moment, we're not able to fully savor those moments. So when we can bring our attention onto those experiences, it helps to bring a deeper, more connected quality to them. One example I like to use is when I go out walking in nature, which is one of my absolute favorite ways of de-stressing and slowing down. There are times when I go out walking where I am lost in my thoughts and I'm worrying about things that may or may not happen, and I miss a lot of what's going on around me. But when I do the simple act of just stopping, looking around me, I suddenly hear the birds singing, I hear the leaves rustling in the trees. I just sense the atmosphere of the natural world around me, and I don't do that when I'm stuck in my head. So whatever it is that you're doing, take a few moments to just step back and focus your attention fully on that thing, and just see what a different quality it brings to that experience. Tip number 8 is to go for a walk. The Greek physician Hippocrates is quoted as saying, "Walking is man's best medicine." And like I said, with walking out in nature, I would fully agree with him. Walking is not only an underrated form of exercise, but it's also a great way to get outside, be with your thoughts, and also take a moment to appreciate what's around you. And I've had some of the best walks just going on a loop around my local area. It doesn't necessarily need to be that you need to find a park or a woodland, although I do think getting out in green spaces is great for our mental health. But wherever it is that you go walking, it's a great way to just get off the treadmill of doing and give yourself some mental space, so that if you do need to get back on the treadmill at some point, you go back in with a different perspective. Now, if like me, your days do tend to get a bit full and you're wondering, well, how on earth can I adopt a slow living lifestyle? Then check out the video on the screen where I go through some tips for how to do slow living when you have a busy life. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.